morning. I came out to do a little harvesting this morning and ended up doing a lot more harvesting than I thought I was going to. I'm making beef and snow peas for dinner. And I can finally harvest peas, which makes me very happy. But as I was looking around, you know, you pull a weed here, you pull a weed there. And my chamomile is blooming like gangbusters. And if you keep it harvested, it'll keep blooming because it's trying to make seed. So if you never let it get to that point, you'll keep getting flowers. So that's what I'm collecting in here. And then I'll just take them in the house and dry them. I have a box going on top of my fridge that any kind of tea ingredient, whether it's bee balm flowers and leaves, verbena leaves, the chamomile, anything like that, I just drop it in that box. Mint, I just drop it in that box and let it dry out, and at the end of the season I'll put it all in a jar. And then whenever I want a spring summery kind of reminder of the garden, I can just make a cup of tea, put some honey in it, and be ready for the day. Now, to be fair, I'm not a big fan of herbal floral teas, but maybe I'll throw it in with some black tea and zhuzh it up a little bit. So I'm going to put this down and get to work picking peas. You can see the difference having the fence up has made. That these peas are huge and they're covered in flowers. So this is definitely working and I'm very happy. I do need to do some more concentrated weed pulling, but this morning is not that morning. It's already 72 degrees at 9 o'clock with an 85% humidity. You can just feel it hanging in the air. I wanted to get those last 2 trees planted today, but it's not going to happen. I can't. So we'll put that on the menu. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow's supposed to be like this, but Tuesday the highest is supposed to be 69 degrees, which aside from being a funny number is a wonderful temperature. So we'll put that off till then. I'm going to get to work on these peas. I didn't bring my tripod out, so you're probably going to miss it, but I'll show you what I get. Chuk, chuk, chuk. Chuk, chuk, chuk. Chuk, chuk, chuk. Chuk, chuk, chuk. This afternoon's activity, I'm at a local farm learning how to do flower pounding. It's a dye process where you take flowers out of your garden, or these folks have a specific dye garden, and you lay them out on cloth or on paper and you pound them with a hammer. And I'm very curious about it, especially how you keep the color from washing out over time. I'm not sure how much I'll be able to record, but if anything I can, I'll show you.
So there's that guy. This is, I'll show some. So you're just gonna, remember, if you smudge it, it's still got a lot of dye on there. Okay, and then I'm gonna take these off. See how yellow these are? Like literally, yeah, literally. I probably could have done a more creative design for you guys.
So that was really interesting. And it really is just as simple as picking your flowers, laying them out on the cloth, and hitting it with a hammer. You do need to treat the fabric a little bit ahead of time using what's called a mordant, which makes the fabric take the dye better. And you need to use natural fiber cloth. But then all we have to do now is let it dry overnight, and then tomorrow, using a very gentle soap, she gave us little samples of this no rinse wash that I use all the time for knitting projects, and just soak it, swish it around a little bit just to get the leftover debris off of it, and then when dry, let it hang dry again, and then iron it from the back side, and that'll set the color. It'll fade a little bit over time, but it'll still hold most of that color. So there you go. There's an interesting craft. And I'm really looking forward to taking it back to the farm to preserve some of those wildflowers that I've been finding. Not every flower works for this. Ones that you would think would work really well tend not to. Things like foxglove, actually it doesn't have enough color in it to let out. Not that it's not colorful, but it doesn't hold enough dye to come out into the fabric when you're hitting it. So it's kind of an experiment, what does and what doesn't work. And in fact, she gave us an extra piece of prepared muslin to just experiment on. And I think a lot of us spent a lot of our time just doing tests, which was fun. And it was interesting to see the different ways different plant materials release color. So it was a good way to spend a hot afternoon, but I'm looking forward to getting home and back under my fan. Good afternoon and welcome back to the farm. It's been a few days since I've recorded. The heat and humidity around here have just been so oppressive that I have not had the spoons to get out and do anything. Monday, I didn't even walk out of the house, not even to go check on the chickens. I just looked at them from the door. They were fine. I've got feeders that last for a week or two, and the waterers last for a couple of days. But today I'm trying to get back on my grind. So I have a couple of things that I have to get done today, and a couple of things I'd like to do. I need to get this garden area mowed and cleaned up, because I've kind of been mowing around it but haven't actually gone into there, and it's getting pretty sad looking. So I'm going to clean that up. The other thing I have to do today is I have to do the hive inspection and the mite testing. I've got new clothing, so I'm less likely to get stung, I hope. And we're going to get both those hives done today because I'm the boss of them, not the other way around. Yeah, right. If I get all that stuff done, I'd kind of like to go blueberry picking. We're coming to the end of blueberry season, but I would still like to get some pie filling put up, and I just got a brand new dehydrator. So I would love to get a batch of blueberries dried so I could use it for scones and stuff over the winter. But priorities first: mowing, hive inspection. The hive inspection is going to take a little longer because I'm doing the mite testing. So I'm using my lunch break, just like my neighbor is, to get the mowing done and do some cleanup around the yard. I'm going to spare you any of my mowing. Sorry, Mom. So I'm just going to get this knocked out real quick, and I will see you back here for the hive inspection. All right, while I wait for my smoker to get going, let me walk you through some of the new kit I have for this trip out to the hives. First and foremost, I got pants. I got so sick of getting stung on the legs, because it was always on the legs, that I did what I should have done from the jump and ordered a pair of bee suit pants. These are really thick, foamy fabric, lots of pockets, holes, mesh for the bees to get hung up in, so that if they do try and sting me, it can't get through the fabric. So this should do the job of finishing protecting me from getting stung. The ankles are elastic, so they can't get up my pant leg. Another benefit. So theoretically, I am now armored out. The other thing I got is my testing kit and my treatments. I think I've spoken before about Varroa mites. It's a mite infestation that came to the US in the 80s and has greatly increased the death rate on US beehives. The average hive loss over the winter for hobbyist beekeepers like myself is 50%. The average loss for professional beekeepers is like 43%. So these mites are incredibly, incredibly destructive. So what we do is we test the hive to see how heavy the mite load is. It's not a question of whether or not there are mites, it is how bad are they. And once they get over a certain percentage, and what I'm looking for in this test is more than 6 out of, this is going to be 350 bees, thereabouts, then we treat them. And that's what this package is for. It's got the, it's called formic acid, and it's 2 pads, and you put those inside the hive on top of the bottom hive body, and the fumes from the pad will go through and destroy the mites. I asked Steve, well, why don't we just automatically put the formic acid in? And he says, well, the biggest issue is we don't want the mites to get resistant to it. So if we just treat it when they're over the limit, then they won't build up that resistance. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this jar, and you can see there's a little mesh cage inside. And we're going to put a half a cup of bees in that basket. A half a cup of bees is about 350 bees. And then we're going to fill this jar halfway with rubbing alcohol and shake it up for a minute. And that's going to, unfortunately, it does kill the bees, but it's also going to wash off all of the mites that are on them, so we can get a sense of, oh no, I thought that was Steve pulling up. That'll give us a sense of how many bees on average are in the hive and whether or not we need to treat. And then we'll just rinse that out and do it to the other hive. So I have the dish pan is to shake the bees off into. Obviously the measuring cups are to scoop up the bees, and the rubbing alcohol is to do the treatment with. So part of why the bees might sting me so much is because over time I've gotten more and more anxious as I go out to do this, and they can smell the pheromones. So I'm trying not to be scared, and I'm explaining all of this to you, but yeah, my stomach's a little bit in knots. But it's going to be fine. They're not going to be able to get me, and we're going to get this done and see how they're doing. Let's go. I got through that without getting stung. Although the second hive was really unhappy with me. Well, the first one, the furthest back one, the one that I did first. Villainy. That hive is villainy. And villainy is actually looking pretty good. They've got about a third of that top box finally drawn out, and they're starting to put more honey in it. I'm just a little worried that they're not moving the brood up at all. They're just staying on those bottom frames, but at least they're filling out those frames. They were just staying on the 5 frames that came in from the nuke, but they're starting to expand out into the other 5 frames that I added when I put the box together. Scum, I don't think is doing as well. They are not really starting to draw out comb in that top box. And there's no brood in that second box. And as I was going through the deep box, they still haven't expanded much beyond those 5 frames. It's all brood, and it's all capped brood. But the other thing I wasn't finding was any eggs. I was seeing a lot of capped brood, but I couldn't find the queen, and I didn't see any eggs. But I didn't see any eggs in the other one, although there was a lot of capped brood in that too. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I'll send this video to Steve and see what he thinks. One of the other members of the club had an issue of the hive being honey-bound, that there was no room for the colony to move because they kind of blocked themselves in with honey. But the beekeeper also hadn't added any new boxes. Now mine, Villainy is going to need another box, probably in a week or so. We've got goldenrod starting to come out, so they're going to be kicking into high gear again fairly shortly. Scum, I don't know what's going on with. I would expect them to be at a similar pace because they both got requeened at about the same time. So I don't know if they had a problem with queening or if they're just a weak hive and they're not going to keep up the same with the other hive. This is why it's a good thing when you get started in beekeeping to have more than one hive, so you have something to compare to. Of course, it's also twice the expense, and when you're a new beekeeper, twice the confusion. Scum had 5 mites, Villainy had 4, so they're both just under the level where I need to treat them. So when I check them next month, I'll probably have to treat them then. Bees, their population develops on kind of a bell curve. So starting in the spring, peak of summer, they're at their peak production, and in a couple of weeks they'll start declining as they get ready for winter. They'll switch over to winter bees. They'll get rid of all of the drones. Unfortunately, varroa mites are on a shifted curve. So just at the point when the bees are starting to reduce their population, the mites are peaking at theirs. So, and if that happens, they're going to just feed off the winter bees all winter, which will kill them. In the summer, it's not as big a problem because they prefer to feed off of larvae. So they'll, when the queen goes into a cell to lay the egg, the mites will be on the worker bees that go in to take care of that egg. As it turns into a larvae, it'll drop off attached to the larvae, feed off the larvae until it hatches, move out, and then move into another egg cell so that they can attach to another larvae, and on and on and on. In the winter, the bees aren't laying eggs, so there aren't larvae, so the varroa mites can't go anywhere. So they basically cannibalize, well, not cannibalize because it's not, parasitize, I guess is a better word, the winter bees and just feed off them until they die, which is what we want to avoid. And we'll do another big treatment in November that would affect the honey so that we couldn't use it. The bees are fine with it, but we can't use it. So that's why we use the formic acid in the summer, because that can be in place at the same time that we're gathering honey. But I don't have to worry about either of those for right now. We'll give them a couple more weeks. I'll come out with another hive body for that, for villainy. Keep that going. Pretty soon it's going to be so tall, I'm not going to be able to reach it. But, so, hive is in good shape, and I can stop worrying about it for another couple of weeks. The pants worked great, especially as pissed as villainy was. That would have been a really painful experience, but I didn't have any problems, so I'm grateful to have them, and I should have just bought them up front. So that's advice I can give to any new beekeeper. You think you're going to be tough, you're going to be fine, you just need the veil and the gloves, get the whole suit. You never know when you're going to need the whole suit. Like, I've got to go up there and mow, and I'm going to wear the whole suit just to mow around the hives, just so I can do a good job of it and not worry about getting stung. But I'm not going to do that today. So, I got the front beds mowed. I got the hives inspected. I guess I'm going blueberry picking. Well, it's been a while since I've had a plan go spectacularly off the rails. I was going to go blueberry picking, but I needed to put my beekeeping stuff away, and then I needed to water the chickens, and then I did a little bit in the garden. And then I thought, you know, I haven't mowed over by the bridge, and it's getting really long. Why don't I go clean that up a little bit? Which was all well and good, until I got too close to the edge of the bridge and put the mower in the ditch. And it's too heavy for me to pull out, and I don't have anything I can pull with. My handy guy left his skid steer, but it doesn't have a key. He hot wires it, and I don't know how to hot wire a skid steer. So I just tried the one neighbor, and they're not home, or they're not answering the door anyway. And so I've got a message in to my other neighbor who has a tractor, and hopefully he'll be able to come over and help me pull it out. So I guess I'm not going blueberry picking today.